We are MakilalaTV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
Welcome to Makilala TV, the first and now longest running TV talk show in the New York metro area. And today we dive into the critical work being done by grassroots organizations to educate and empower the Filipino community in the wake of recent ICE raids and immigration enforcement. Join us as we speak with dedicated advocates who share firsthand insights and resources to navigate these challenging times. Allow me to introduce Santos, who is a former undocumented migrant worker who moved to the U.S. more than a decade ago. While working different odd jobs, he learned about the Filipino community in New York and decided to get more involved with Migrante, specifically in 2016 when Trump first got elected. He is now the Secretary General of Migrante in New York and is actively organizing in Queens. We are also honored to have Riya Ortiz join us on Makilala TV. Riya is the Executive Director of Damayan Migrant Workers Association. Damayan is a grassroots organization that serves and empowers low-wage Filipino migrant workers living and working in New York City and New Jersey, especially domestic workers and labor trafficking survivors. She identifies as a queer immigrant Filipina, daughter of a domestic worker, and a child of martial law survivors. So let's all get ready to be informed as we discuss these recent events, learn about available resources, and hear insights and practical tips from these community leaders. Let's give a warm welcome to Santos and Riya Ortiz.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
So my first question is, tell us a little bit more about your organizations, Migrante and Damayan, and how you've specifically helped the Filipino immigrant community. You could go first.
Yes. Thank you for inviting us again here in your show. Again, I'm Riya Ortiz, Executive Director at the Damayan Migrant Workers Association. We serve and empower Filipino migrant workers, specifically domestic workers and labor trafficking survivors. So most of our members are domestic workers, so meaning they're caregivers, babysitters, and housekeepers. And most of them are also trafficked domestic workers, so meaning they were trafficked by ambassadors and diplomats working in the United Nations. They escaped and then they found Damayan. Wow. So part of Damayan is we offer critical services to our community. We give free legal clinics, where they can talk to immigration attorneys and labor attorneys for free. And once the attorneys identify that they have immigration and labor cases, the attorneys can decide whether they would take on the cases. So we also do case management and refer them to other social services. But of course, more importantly, we also do organizing. So we're a membership-based organization. We recruit members. We develop labor trafficking survivors into social justice leaders and organize and campaign issues around that directly impact them.
Beautiful. And Migrante.
Hi, so I'm Santos. I'm the Secretary General of Migrante. Almost the same as what Rio was saying. We fight for the rights and welfare of Filipino migrant workers, especially domestic workers, caregivers, and restaurant workers, different kinds of workers, especially the undocumented ones. Our membership consists of same thing, trafficking survivors, and also wage theft victims. We do have some campaigns that we do that sometimes we fight for really advocacies that we have, especially when people. The campaign that we're doing right now is the Tanggol Migrante campaign, which is an answer to the intense attacks on the immigrants. Right now, it's a nationwide effort, but here in Queens, it's led by Migrante and AFCON. Mm-hmm. So what we do is this, like Ria said, we do know your rights trainings, we do safety plans for migrants, we do education. Especially, we want to empower our kababayans because I think that's one of the most important ones. That's why that's where the fear comes, where you're not knowledgeable about what's going on. But when you know your rights, you get empowered, you get organized, you feel more safer. So I think that's one of the things that we do. Migrante started in the Philippines as an answer to the floor contemplation case. I don't know if you all are, yeah. So Migrante focuses on like migrant workers abroad because there's a need for like organizations because no one is helping our migrant workers abroad. So we thought the Migrante folks in the Philippines really need an organization that will really serve the migrant workers.
Has both your work become more difficult since Donald Trump became president?
Ikaw man.
It has always been difficult because you're dealing with a very vulnerable population, mainly undocumented, mainly women. You know, they're also elderly, right? So we have members who are caregivers in their 60s and 70s. You know, they're I'm sure you're familiar with caregiving work, Rian, right? You know, so imagine, women in their 60s and 70s lifting, bathing, feeding, elderly people when they're the ones who should be receiving caregiving already. So it's very difficult. And more so with the Trump administration, there's just heightened anxiety and fear, in our community.
Did your membership grow?
Oh, yes. So we're a firm believer that in every crisis there is an opportunity. So for us, this is the opportunity to give services and at the same time empower our community. So it's like approaching the storm head on. There's no time to, we don't have time to waste, right? So we have to secure our community, make sure that everyone is safe and secure, and give them the tools that they need so they can protect themselves.
Yes.
What are those? What are those tools to help empower and educate our kababayan, our community members? You mentioned safety plan.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think I need to speak Tagalog too.
Yeah, sure.
So, yun kasi yung ngayon, ang pinaka-response namin nationwide, because there's Migrante USA 2 who's helping us out and NAFCON USA. Bawat chapter sa US, nagbubuo kami ng mga network. These networks are called Tanggol Migrante Networks. In these networks, we put different organizations, different allies, church members, and also, of course, the undocumented workers. And dun sa network na yon, dun yung parang rapid response network. So, kunwari, merong ICE raid dito. Ipopost namin sa network, oh, there's an ICE raid here. Maybe we can confirm it.
Yeah.
And then, aside from that, we do know your rights. Of course, they have to know their rights so that they can alleviate that fear nga. Tapos,
Lumaki ba yung membership niyo?
Yes po. So,
Since
bawat
Trump became president?
Yes. Kasi marami lumalapit sa amin. Yung safety plan, yung safety planning is, kung ma-detain ka, ano yung next steps? Paano yung mga documents mo? Paano kung may anak ka?
Oh my gosh,
sino ang lawyer mo?
Oh.
So kami yung nag-arrange nun. Gumagawa kami ng safety plan. In case na ma-detain ka, alam namin kung sinong kukontakin na lawyer, kung anong gagawin sa documents mo, kung sinong i-reach out na family mo sa Pilipinas. Sa tanong po na dumami yung membership, tulad ni Riya, ang daming lumalapit sa amin yun. Kahit kagabi, may mga nakausap ako sa May Queens na yun, walang papel, inaabuso ng mga amo nila dahil talagang walang papel. Lalo ngayon...
Kasi tinatakot sila na...
Yes. Because especially now that Trump has been the president, they've been more abused and they've been more exploited. 2 days ago, yung isang kababayan natin, nagte-text dun sa network namin, sabi niya, "Oy, hinarang yung Uber ko. Kinakabahan ako." Tapos umiiyak siya. So sabi ko, "Nasaan ka? Bigay mo sa amin yung address mo, tapos susunduin ka namin." Pero after that, sabi niya, "Oh, okay na. Kaya lang pala hininto yung Uber dahil may traffic violation." So, pero nakita mo yung epekto sa psychological effects sa mga kababayan natin.
Oh yeah. It's definitely been damaging and impacting the Filipino community and raising fear and anxiety. Other than the Know Your Rights workshops, safety plans, what are you, actually, Damayan, what are you equipping your staff to help with this intake of cases?
Yeah. Very good question, Rachelle. So the first thing we did was to secure the organization. Kasi, ibig sabihin, for us to do this work, we need to make sure that our team is safe and secure.
Yeah.
Right? So we did cybersecurity training. We made sure that, if you're handling information of a very vulnerable population, we need to build trust, that we'll be able to secure their information physically and online. So, we're housed in a church. We make sure, we coordinate with the church. We make sure that no ICE can enter the church. Or
Can you prevent that?
Without a signed judicial warrant.
Yes.
You
That's
can.
Well,
the
there
we can
are.
talk about
yes.
Well, we're in an office inside a church, so we should be able to secure our own office inside
because
the
it's
church.
private.
Yes, because it's private. So, and then we make sure we also use an encrypted database. We only use encrypted Signal, which is like encrypted
messaging app.
texting. Yes, we've switched to Jitsi so that we can do
Can you
our work
mention that?
safely and securely. I'm sorry,
Can you mention
which one?
the one that you shifted
On TV.
to?
Oh yeah. We're not. Well, we know. If you want to target an undocumented and vulnerable population, you will target the organizations, right? So we're very much well aware of that. So our first goal is to secure the organization so that we can continue to keep doing the work that we're doing. So last year, we were able to outreach to more than 20,000 online, in person 5,000. Right? And then we recruited about 300 members, in a year. And that's
That's a big number.
Yes, and because we're able to secure our team, right?
Yeah.
So safety starts within our team so we can do our work safely in the community. So now we're going to the community, in Little Manila. I was talking to AJ, earlier. We said, it's not a coincidence that it's Damayan and Migrante
Yes.
who are invited here because we're the ones who are working with the most vulnerable population,
Yes.
right? So
Seriously, on
outreach-
the ground,
Yes.
doing direct services.
Outreach is very important because they're already afraid, right? So we do mass texting, we do one-on-one phone calls, we go to pop-up festivals, in Little Manila. We enter the Filipino restaurants where our members are, and we give them Know Your Rights cards. We give them flyers. We give them cards, including the customers. Well, ayun. Yeah.
Know Your
That's our
Rights
joint
cards.
Can I see one of those? So maybe
It's funny because we both have it.
Yeah, and it's the same text
It's
that
the
we're
same
using.
text. It's Migrante and Damayan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your activities are being watched?
I think there's always a threat, though. The threat can come from if you're serving a vulnerable population, there will always be threats, right? Inside and, outside. So, but we do the work knowing that there are risks, in doing this work.
Yeah.
But I think the great thing about this is that, there's purpose and meaning in what we're doing, right? Of course, you don't get hazard pay, for being targeted.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's part of the risk of serving our community.
AJ,
Yes po.
do you take personal protection, safety precautions?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the work naman po. I mean, but like I said, the only way to really keep you safe is to organize and really be with the community. Pag marami tayo, if we're a lot,
Right.
like what Riya said, that's a lot of Filipinos.
Oh, yeah.
If
5,000.
we unite as Filipinos, undocumented workers are like, sabi nila 400,000, but our estimates is like around a million. Around a million Filipinos are documented. But of course, you'll never know because they're undocumented.
Yeah.
So I think that important thing is like we unite. For my personal security, of course I practice security too, like what Riya was mentioning. But importante po yung
Like
security.
you don't go to the same house every day. Things
Things
like that.
Hindi naman ganun po kaano, pero
Those are the martial law techniques.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You
What?
shift from place to place. Go ahead.
So
Rachelle.
you're not easily traceable.
Yes.
What is your response to those Filipinos who feel that the work that you're doing is actually, why are you helping illegal Filipinos from evading the law, following the law? Because that's
Ako?
yeah, that is a perspective that I've actually seen on social media.
Yeah.
Like in the comments whenever I see this, it's
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was undocumented for 8 years, 9 years, and I'm not a criminal. Do I look like I'm gonna hurt someone? But alam po natin na we have to address the root cause. Why are people leaving in the first place? Is there a job opportunity in the Philippines? There's no job opportunities in the Philippines. So that's why every day there's like 7,000 Filipinos who work abroad. And those Filipinos
Leave the country
to
to work.
work abroad. Those Filipinos are not looking to do crime anywhere else. All they want is to get a job so that they can send money. And the saddest thing is that our government is not doing anything about it. They actually encourage Filipinos to go abroad. And when they're here already, being attacked, what does the government do? They don't do anything. I was like hearing your interview earlier, because Deputy Conjen was mentioning about the venue or the Philippine Center. It's just really like, I'm confused because there's been a lot of attacks with our Filipino migrants, and the Deputy Conjen was talking about the venue. I mean, no offense to y'all, but I was just like, can we talk about real issues? Can we talk about the people that are suffering right now?
Yeah,
'Cause-
that could be an own episode on its
Yes.
own. Yeah, definitely two different
Yeah.
topics.
I'm very passionate, so
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because there are so many things that we could talk about, even just with the Philippine consulate. Absolutely. But yes, I feel like that they are a resource, and even our own organizations, there's room to improve. So yes, that could definitely be its own episode.
My question is, does having a lawyer protect you?
For Damayan or
I mean,
others?
As a Filipino
people
Generally.
who are about to be deported.
So our approach is preventative rather than reactive. So, and also to add to what AJ said, right? So in the Philippines, my mother is also a domestic worker. So she left the country because, she wanted to ensure the economic survival of our family. So she worked as a domestic worker, even if she was a government employee for 14 years, right? But here, she's, a source of cheap labor, worked in Upper East Side. And when I started visiting the U.S., I met her employer. She actually worked for the vice president of Goldman and Sachs. And then, the wife is a housewife. So she asked me, "Oh, hi, you're Linda's daughter. Would you like to work for me when you move here?" So of course I was taken aback because I didn't have any systemic racism lens yet, at that time. But for her, I'm just another source of cheap labor, just another domestic worker, right? So, but that's not just my mother. That story replicates itself, a thousandfold in our community. So we cannot blame, our kababayans if they choose to become undocumented when there are no real jobs, at home, right? So back home, they're not supported by the Philippine government, right? They're declared modern day heroes, but really they're modern day slaves. And
Yeah.
then here,
That's so
we're
true.
scapegoated, right? So do not believe the lies, So for our kababayans who were fortunate enough to become documented here in the U.S., and those who are born and raised here, please do not believe the lies, right? And also for our kababayans who are undocumented, also do not believe the lies. Deep in your heart, that you're not a criminal,
Yes.
right? We're here, they're risking everything. Their physical, mental, emotional, even sexual safety, right? They're open to harassment from their employers, from their traffickers. They would risk being trafficked. For what? So they can support their children back home. Children of domestic workers like me. So I think it's very unfair to call our kababayans, our migrant worker mothers, as illegals or as criminals,
Yeah.
right?
Very well
So
said,
it really
Rhea.
starts with the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, kasi we can do the Know Your Rights trainings, but we have to address the mindset first. We come here to work, so we should take on the mindset, with we are valued, we have dignity, we should be respected, you know, as human beings and as workers.
Yeah.
What
I
if
feel
there
like
is, what if there is ICE knocking on your door? What can help you? Can a lawyer help you?
No, only them can help themselves at that moment. So the way we start is I always like to pull back, you know, look at the forest rather than the trees, right? So ICE is there to deport, right? You know, to because our community is being used as a scapegoat for the problems in the US, right? Instead of focusing on the real problems here, you know, they're shifting the focus on us, you know, the immigrant community, right? So now they're telling, you know, they're creating this narrative that we're criminals, you know, so our first advice for our members is please, you know, do what is best for you and our community, not based on anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
Make decisions based on what's good for you, right? So if an ICE is knocking at your door, do know they're there to deport you, right? So your role is to protect yourself, right? So the rule number 1, don't open the door, right? So because most
Rule
likely,
number 1.
yes, rule number 1, don't open the door. You know, so parang ano yan labanan yan right? You know, one wants to deport you and then one wants to stay here so they can keep working, right? So, and then rule number 2, ask, you know, muster all the courage that you have and then ask, you know, can I see a warrant, right? So most likely they will not have a warrant. If you watch all the videos of ICE raids, you know, in Queens, no one is carrying a warrant. They're looking at their phone, they're looking at the name, they're looking at the address, no warrants, right? So that means they're already willing to violate, you know, someone's rights. So if
or
they
hope that they don't know,
Right,
that the
exactly.
person doesn't know their
Right,
rights.
yes.
Can they break down your door?
They can.
They can.
They
can
can.
do anything. Yeah.
But that's but that's illegal. Considered
Yes.
But then again, you know, you go back to stay silent, right? So we do have members who were detained. We were supporting them during the first Trump administration. So for example, there was a nationwide raid in 7-Eleven, right? Around 2017, 2018. So in Queens, 2 stores there were staffed by Filipinos, 4 Filipino men, and then they were raided by ICE. So ICE came at 7 in the morning, blocked the front door and the back door, and then came in there. You know, the worker asked, you know, who are you looking for? You know why we're here. They had a portable biometric machine. You know, they were fingerprinted, right? And then they came out of the store, you know, in handcuffs and chains around their waist and then their feet, right? You know, very dehumanizing, you know, for Filipino men who just want to support their families back home, right? So they were brought downtown, they were booked, but because they did not know their rights, you know, they told their entire story. And then one of them was actually detained for about 5 weeks, and then 3 were released. So we were supporting all 4 men. The one that was detained, they found something on his record, so that's why they were holding him, you know, upstate for a long time.
We don't have too much time, but I am glad that you shared those lessons learned of like what happens if you don't know your rights. So we're really here to help empower our kababayan. So what I heard so far is don't open the door.
Right?
Ask for a warrant, but other than that, stay silent. Like you don't have to answer any of their questions.
Yes.
Any other tips, things that we should prepare before that happens so that we can prepare versus react?
I think one of the things too is like you can say I wish to speak to an attorney, but I think most importantly sinasabi kasi ni ate yung know your rights. Know your rights, yes, we can give presentations, we can help educate our folks, but sometimes ICE really lies. They violate the violate your rights. They would crash at your door. They can do anything because yes, they would lie and lie. So the most important thing pa rin, in the end is like community organizing. You should join a community, you should join the networks, you should join Damayan, you should join Migrante, because that's where you'll find your safety net. I mean,
so if somebody goes to your door, start calling people from Migrante. Tama.
Have
We
a
can do
support
that.
system.
Have a support
Build a
system.
support system.
Yeah,
know
'cause-
who to trust,
yeah.
who to go to. I love that safety plan that you shared.
Yeah, because for
before.
example, like if an ice broke down on your door, you get detained. The know your rights will not happen
Yeah.
anymore. So
Yeah.
even Rio sharing about the detainee. We just visited a detainee, Denmark. He was a CNA.
Yeah, I heard of this.
Yeah, I heard of.
case.
Yeah, he was a CNA who was defending himself because of an aggressive patient.
He was wrongly accused.
He
right?
was wrongly accused, and we visited him a week ago in Rhode Island, a detention facility. And even at the detention facility, his rights was being violated. He had to pay for a Thanksgiving dinner that wasn't provided to him. He had to pay for clean water. We have to pay for edible food. Tapos, madami, meron pang solitary confinement.
Wow.
So, their rights are being violated everywhere. And the only way that we can fight that is to really like organize our community. Advocacy. We have to pressure our consulate. We have to pressure the government here. We have to pressure everyone because we have to have that voice that fights for the marginalized. Kasi pag hindi, they can do anything, honestly.
That's true.
We do have to close it up soon, but I wanted to take a moment to really find out, how do we get more information? Outside of this episode, we learned so much already. Where can we get more information about Damayan and Migrante?
Okay, great. So for Damayan, you can find us, of course, our website, damayanmigrants.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and we're a grassroots organization. So like what AJ said, the best way to protect yourself is to be part of a grassroots organization. So huwag tayong maghintay na ma-in-trouble tayo or mapahamak tayo. Kunin na natin yung mga information na kailangan natin para maprotektahan natin yung mga sarili natin at maging bahagi ng isang organisasyon. So, yes, I strongly suggest be a part of a grassroots organization, attend the Know Your Rights training. We're currently doing a Worker Protection Academy. Around 80 attended on our first workshop, so we're doing the second one this Saturday as well. So we're doing Know Your Rights trainings and at the same time role plays, right? Because to be honest, you will blank out, when it happens, right? So you have to do a lot of role playing and at the same time doing those community networks where if there's a raid that happens in Woodside, all of our members will be alerted, in that area as well.
Thank you, Ria.
Yeah,
And
thank
then,
you.
We're on Facebook. We're on social media too, Migrante New York. We have a website. It's with Migrante USA, the Alliance. We also are on Instagram. But you can also email nymigrantempilipino@gmail.com. Just like Ria said, wag po tayong matakot. Hindi tayo kriminal. Alam naman natin kung bakit tayo nag-ibang bansa para magtrabaho at mabuhay ang mga pamilya natin sa Pilipinas. Magkakaisa po tayo kasi yun lang ang paraan para makaraos dito sa pinagdadaanan natin.
beautiful. Thank you so much again to our guests, AJ Santos of Migrante and Riya Ortiz from Damayan.